Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to you fellow Wakian, pushing this truth to the four corners of the earth, waking up the rest of the elect, so Yahweh Shai can return and save his elect up on out of here, man. And I pray that I'm numbered amongst the elect, okay? Quick lesson, man. The topic of this lesson is, prophets don't ride fences, And what sparked this title, or what inspired this title, is what Apostle Dahar said. That, man, he said that's a video topic right there. That's a video title right there. He said prophets don't ride fences, man. And he was doing a lesson on IUIC, on Bishop Nate talking about his feudalism slip, his feudal slip that he said. He said he was talking about the CBDCs, and he don't even know what he's talking about that. When it comes to that, talking about big nations, small nations, and whatnot. But he said it's like your debit card. You swipe it and boop, and that's your right hand, and your hand. He slipped by saying that. He didn't, because he knows what the mark of the beast is. Bishop Nate knows that the RFID chip is the mark of the beast. He knows that the Lord's true name is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahweh Shai. He knows that, man. He knows that there ain't no hell underground, all right, where you burn forever, like these Christians are preaching, and what Bishop Nate is preaching now. He used to not preach those things. He used to preach the true names, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. He used to preach that hell is a condition played out on earth, and not what these Christians teach. All right? But now he's waxing worse, and ultimately us men of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai believe that he sold out, But he did that feudalism slip, all right? Let me look that up. Feudal slip, feudalism slip. A Freudian slip. All right, yeah, Slakia. A Freudian slip, all right. This is where someone accidentally mentions concepts from the feudal system. All right. Revealing underlying thoughts, perhaps about hierarchy, obligation, or power dynamics, instead of a random mistake connecting to This is instead of a random mistake, okay? Connecting to ideas of vassal lords, peasants, and modern. So, he slipped up, all right? He did not mean to say right hand, all right? He was going on autopilot, and sometimes when you go on autopilot, you say things that you don't want to say. You say things that's in your mind, but you don't want to say those things. And he said right hand, because he knows that the mark of the beast is the RFID chip, and it's going to go in your right hand, in your forehead, like the scriptures say, like Revelation 13:16 says. And it sounded like Bishop Nate was going to say in your right hand or your forehead, but he stopped at right hand. He's like, he paused a little bit. He said, in your right hand, in your right hand, your hand, because it sounded like he was going to say right hand and forehead, in your forehead, but he stopped at right hand, and he realized that he didn't mean to say that. And then I forgot who else. I think it was ICUPK. It might be IUIC who said, they might throw a chip in there. They might throw a chip in there, which, hey, man, prophets don't ride on fences, man. All right. It's either the mark of the beast is the RFID chip or it's not. And, hey, we know, us men of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, we know that the RFID chip is exactly what Apostle Har and the men of GMS are preaching that it is. Okay? Which is the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip. That has to be the mark of the beast, okay? We believe that. I believe that full surety. All right. You can't convince me otherwise, man. Okay. And then you get these other men outside, outside this truth that's of the circumcision in Israel. All right. Saying, oh, it might be the chip. It might be. Is it the chip or not? They might throw a chip in there. Is it the chip or not? Oh, the Lord's name might be Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, but how do we know? How do we know that the Lord's name is Yahweh Shai? 2,000 years have passed. How do we know? This book has been translated in through Greek, English. How do we know? How do we know? Hey, man, it's either you believe it or not. Be fully persuaded in your mind, man. Okay. All right. Okay, Matthew 5:37. It says, but let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, or whatever, or whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. So, is the mark of the beast RFID chip or not? Yes or no? All right. Is the Lord's name Yahweh and Yahweh Shai? Yes or no? We believe yes, that it is. All right. We're not riding the fence. We're not saying maybe, might, but no, we're saying yes, this is it. This is the Lord's true name. This is the RFID chip, which is the the RFID microchip. All right, it is the mark of the beast. No ifs, ands, or buts, man. It says, or whatsoever more than these cometh of evil. So if you riding the fence, all right, you can't be a prophet of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, all right. If you're riding the fence, that's what you're doing. If you don't say yes or no, you're riding the fence. Okay. I could just read this scripture and end it off, but I got a whole bunch more. It says, I know, Revelation 3:15, it says, I know thy works, that thou art neither cold or hot, representing yes or no, if you're with this truth, if you believe in this truth or not. I would thou wert cold or hot. So the Lord, he would rather you be either a disbeliever or, an unbeliever or a believer, full force, believing in the Lord, doing the work of the Lord, hot for the Lord, or cold, or don't do the work of the Lord at all. You just be a worldly person. That's what the Lord wants you to be. Pick a side. Verse 16, it says, so then, because thou art lukewarm, it says, and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. And that's what's going to happen to you Israelites who are riding the fence. Maybe this, I don't know, this and that, maybe GMS is right. Maybe they're not. I don't know. And the Lord's going to spew you out, man. All right. And also, this also goes for you sluggers. All right. You men of the Lord, which are sluggers. All right. Barely doing the work of the Lord, here and there sparsely. You want to be in this truth, but yet you want to be in the world at the same time. No, the Lord ain't doing that, man. He ain't working like that. It's either you're full force, on the side of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai doing the work of the Lord to the best of your ability, or not. There's no in between. And if you think you could be in the in between, the Lord says no. He's going to eventually spew you out, make you fall out of this truth. All right. So get hot now. I'm speaking to myself first and foremost, because I could catch myself being lukewarm sometimes, and every brother catches themselves being lukewarm sometimes, or not lukewarm, but you know what I mean. We think we examine ourselves and be like, man, I could have done more. I could have done more for Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. All right. I could have woke up earlier and done the work of the Lord. I could have studied more. I could have read more. I could have been out there on the highways and byways more. I could have been more brotherly. I could have prayed more. I could have studied more. But yeah. But the topic of this lesson is for you Israelites. Who are hopping camp to camp. being like, oh, it might be the MOTB, the men of GMS might be correct. They also might not be. We'll see when it comes. Yeah, we'll see. It's either pick a side now. All right, pick a side, man. Okay. Matthew 12:30. It says, he that is not with me, all right, with the Lord. He that is not with the Lord, who is not with me, is against me. And he that gathereth not with me, scattereth abroad. And IUIC, you're guilty, all right, of doing that, of not being with the Lord, man, all right. You changed your doctrine, all right. And you're not the only ones that have done it, but you've changed your doctrine, man, okay. And you're also right in the fence. They might throw a chip in there, okay. All right. And then Bishop Nate, even with the name of the Lord, when he got sick a couple years ago, all right. What were the names that he was calling on? He was calling on Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, and the Lord got him out of that sickness. He was on his deathbed, man, very sick, and he called on the names of what? Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. He didn't call on Jesus or God, Most High Blessed, He called on Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. And now look what he's doing. He's doing the same thing. He went back to his vomit, saying, Most High, Christ bless. Making fun of the Lord's name. Making fun of those who believe in the true name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? So he's guilty of scattering abroad, man. All right? Leading the sheep to the slaughter. Okay? He's a hireling because he sold out anyway. And that's a hireling who took the bag to do an assignment. All right? He's only leading the sheep. All right? Taking care of the sheep for money. Not for, okay? Not for the actual care and love of the sheep. All right? So, hey, man, are you with the Lord? Or are you with Yahweh Shemel Shai? Or are you with the world? You can't pick. You can't be in between, man. The scriptures say, a man can't have two masters, for he would love the other more than the other. Okay? You can't have two masters. It's either you love Yahweh Shemel Shai, or you love the world. You love Satan. You love Jeebus Cross. Most High, Christ blessed. Call the true names of the Lord. Is the Lord's true name Yahweh while Yahweh Shai or not? Okay? There's no in between. Okay? James 1:8 says that double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways, man. Okay? And you don't want to be an unstable man. Okay? Here, there, this, that. That's going to lead to death. Okay? And nobody's going to want to trust you. Okay? Nobody will trust you because nobody wants to be with a unstable man. All right? A high-quality man, all right? A characteristic of a high-quality man, okay, is a man that is stable, okay? That is immovable, okay? And those are qualities of the men of GMS, all right? The true followers of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, all right? We're not unstable. We're not double-minded. We're not saying, oh, one day the Lord's name is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the next day it's Yeshua, Yahushua, Jesus Christ. No, it's Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai the whole time, and we despise those other names. Literally, I hate hearing those names. Yeshua, it hurts my ears, man. Ugh, it's like hearing a nasty word or some shit like that, man. We all know those old people. Those Edomites. Those white people that get triggered by the word moist. They're like, oh, don't say that. Stop it. No. People make fun of them because it's just a word. And we're the same way when it comes to those other false names of the Lord. Jesus, Yeshua. We feel the same way. We get the icky, man. Okay? Because we're not unstable. We're not double-minded. Okay? Okay? 2 Peter 1:19, it says, we have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto ye do well that ye take heed, as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn, and the day star arise in your hearts. All right, so we have a more sure word of prophecy, man. All right, we're sure that this is the truth. we're sure, all right, without a doubt, all right, that the mark of the beast is the RFID microchip. The Lord's name is Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. Okay, we're sure. Okay, IUIC, they don't have a sure word of prophecy because they keep changing up their doctrine, man. Okay, these scriptures don't fit IUIC being the men of the Lord. They don't fit the prophecy of being the prophets of Yahweh Shem Shai, the true men of the Lord. All right. Is that what I wanted? This is First Corinthians 10 and 20 says, but I slack you. It says, but I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to Yahweh. Okay, and the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai told us to not follow after the ways of the heathens, the Gentiles, the natural Gentiles, okay. That's why our people became Gentiles, because they started following after the ways of those Gentiles, those heathens. So the Lord started calling them Gentiles because they started looking like them and acting like them, man. Mainly acting like them, following their customs and ways. And they started to look like them and have children with them. But they were still Israelites, just acting like Gentiles. All right? That's basically what was going on in the New Testament, man. And still to this day. It says, and I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils, okay? Of this world. It says, ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Okay, you hear that? So you can't be 1 foot in with Yahweh Shem Shai and 1 foot in with the world. Okay? You can't have it both ways, serving the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, but yet you're in the streets. You're about to, you don't want to leave the streets, You're still repping your gang and whatnot. Mixing this truth with gang culture. Mixing this truth with the things, your hobbies in this world, man. Hey, there's nothing wrong with having hobbies. Just, hey, don't mix it with this truth, Hey, brothers in this truth, hey, we got TikToks, some brothers got TikToks that, hey, they do the work of the Lord on their TikTok channel, their TikTok page. And they also have another TikTok channel, all right, that, hey, it's just them, their hobbies, and they don't mix it with the truth, man, okay, which is perfectly fine, man, okay, shoot, my TikTok, I don't mix it with the truth, okay, it's just, I don't post, the work of the Lord or whatnot, and then also on the same page post the things of my, my hobbies, If I wanted to do that, I would make another TikTok channel, a TikTok page, for that. You don't mix this truth, all right? You don't mix this truth with, your hobbies, the things of this world, your worldly self, It says, ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils, okay? Bishop Nate taking the bag, selling out, but yet you're trying to serve the Lord, but yet at the same time, you're changing the doctrine, all right, because you took the bag, okay? Is the Lord's name Yahweh and Yahweh Shai or not? Is the mark of the beast the RFID chip or not? They might throw a chip in there. There's no right in the fence, man, okay? And that goes for every Israelite. Romans 14 and 5, it says, one man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Slakia. Slakia. I got my son. He's in the other room. I thought he was pulling off the me and my rib, we put this stuff over the door so the cold air don't get in. I thought he was pulling that off, but nah, he's just playing with his toys. But Romans 14 and 5 again, it says, one man esteemeth one day above another, and another esteemeth every day alike. Okay, You know, every man has their own beliefs on things. And, you know, it says, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Okay. So do you believe, do you believe in this truth? Do you believe that the men of GMS are the prophets of the Lord, and what they preach is the words of Yahweh Shem Shai, or not? You know, yes or no? You know, book of Joshua 24:15, it says, and if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai. So yeah, man, choose this day, man. Are you going to serve Yahweh Shem Shai?